Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Harrington, Director of Business Development here at Top Builder. Welcome to the 22nd episode of our webinar series, and today's topic, Unify Your Construction Data to Maximize Its Value. If you have attended any of our webinars in the past, it's the same format. The webinar is being recorded, and we will send the recording and slides out tomorrow. And though all attendees are on mute, we encourage you to put your questions in the questions or chat area, and we'll address them before we close our session today. I will now turn it over to our founder, Chief Product Officer for Top Builder and Contractor BI, and the head of our data services group, Dave Knowles. Dave?
Thanks, Rob. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yay. Can you see my screen as well?
Yes.
Okay, yay. Guys, we're using a new version of GoToWebinar today, and it's completely different. So hopefully we won't have any technical challenges, but so far so good. One of the changes you'll see is we're on camera. Now, I'm not going to keep the camera on for the full webinar because, well, it's distracting and also it tends to slow things down a bit, but we'll get started and be respectful of your time. Okay, so if you have been to any of our webinars in the past, you'll know that we follow a pretty strict and standard agenda. Um, we cover a little bit of background on us. We don't spend a lot of detail on there, but we give you a little bit of update on our webinar series, which includes, what webinars are upcoming and what webinar we're focusing on today. And then we jump right into the topic. We talk about basically what do we mean when we're talking about unifying your construction data. We'll go into why it's important. I think you probably already know, or you wouldn't be on this webinar. Typically, we do a poll question. We're not going to do a poll question today, but I do have some quotes that I want to share with you all. And then we're going to talk about who benefits from this. We're going to go real quick through all these things. And then we're going to get into how to unify your construction data and the best practices around that. We gave this presentation 2 weeks ago to the CFMA chapter here in Houston. It went really, really well. It was 90 minutes long. So we're not going to do 90 minutes today. We're going to keep it to 35 minutes and let you ask questions. But one of the things I want to draw your close attention to is the critical success factor. There's 2 slides on this. These are probably the 2 most important slides in the webinar. This is really kind of summarizing what is really, really important to do this correctly. And we've done this for many years, and we know these things. We've learned, we've made mistakes. We're not perfect, but we're pretty good at this, and we have a lot of experience with this, and we're going to share those experiences with you. We've got a QR code for you to kind of book a follow-up or next step. And then we're going to go over some real world sort of scenarios on how people came to Top Builder with this problem. We'll describe the problem, and I'll go over how that problem was resolved using these best practices. And I think you'll appreciate that. If we start to run out of time, because we promise to start on time and end on time, I'll cover the next steps before I get into all the real world cases. You all can leave if you need to leave. You will get a recording of this webinar after. It should be tomorrow. And you'll get a copy of the presentation as well. Okay? So really quickly, I'm not going to read this, but want you all to know, if you haven't met us before, we do have a lot of experience in this area. So much experience, it's kind of insane at this point. I feel very old, but we also have background in construction, construction management consultants, general contractors. We've been there, done that for decades. And we've done these implementations thousands of times. And we're trying to share what we've learned with this webinar. Okay, next, I won't talk about the company necessarily, but you all know us. You'll see these slides. We've been around a while, based here in Houston, Texas. And an update on the webinar series really quickly. We try to do a webinar every the third Thursday of every month. Sometimes we skip just for holidays or whatever, and It's always at 1 o'clock Central Time. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to jump into what we call a mini webinar series, starting with the next webinar. Doug, who's our construction management consultant, has really dug into all the construction key metrics that you need to be successful. It's a long topic, and so we're going to break it into mini webinars, and we're going to be sharing that with you in the next several months. Also, if you guys find this topic interesting and you want to get us into a peer group that you have or some sort of coaching group that you belong to, we're happy to do that, and we'll give you a gift card for introducing us to your group. And as I said, you'll get a recording and a copy of the presentation tomorrow. And the reason why there's a couple asterisks by that is we're using a new follow-up tool that is connected to GoToMeeting. I hope it works and the way we expect it to, but bear with us while we're learning that new tool. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into the topic. Okay, we always like to, when we do the webinars, we always want to start with the what. What are we talking about? Then we go into the why. Why is it important? Then we go into who is it for, the target audience, and then we go through the how. That's typically the structure we follow. We found that to be very useful. This is a very busy slide, so I'm not going to go through all of this because we're going to get into each one of these items in the webinar. But I wanted to define, before we even get started here, what do we mean by unifying your construction data? What are we talking about? What we're talking about is a structured approach or a process for bringing all of your data together, merging your data. And when I mean merge, I'm going to say this a couple times today, I mean field by field. I don't mean we're going to merge contact records together. I mean, we're going to take a contact, we're going to bring together all the phone numbers on all of those contact records, email addresses, history, notes, whatever that may be, so that you end up with one single record for your jobs, your customers, your vendors, suppliers, your contacts. And then after it's all merged and cleaned, what we're going to do is we're going to reconcile it with your connected systems, let's just call it. That could be your ERP or your job cost accounting system, your project management system like a Procore or Autodesk, estimating like a Stack, B2W, what there are a million of them out there, as you know. And it could be something where you're getting your bid invitations from like a Building Connected or Plan Hub or Construction Connect or something like that. But if we don't reconcile this data that we have in this one database, or your single source of truth, we're going to call it, then it'll get out of sync. So we do a reconciliation process, then we host all this, we refresh it and sync it so it's always up to date, and then it's monitored for data quality purposes, duplicates, whatever, and then we give you access to it through a web interface, an app. Top Builder has an app, or there's other apps that you could use, I suppose, and then also through an API. Okay, and I don't know if you guys recognize these initials here, but often what people refer to this as is the single source of truth. I hear that a lot. That comes directly from our customers. I think we have some of them on the phone on the webinar here. And unified data, single source of truth, we mean the same thing. Okay, so let's go into why is this important. I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you're here for a reason, and it's probably the same reason that we have been hearing for the last 19 years, and candidly before that. But the whole point of all of this is we meet with thousands of contractors every year, and we've been in business for almost 20 years now. And we always hear the same thing over and over and over again. Even before we had Contractor BI, the data and analytics platform, we would meet with a customer and talk about their needs. We talk about their challenges with their business. We talk about their pain points. We meet with them through speaking engagements, webinars, user conferences. We meet with partners. We meet directly one-on-one with customers. And the number one thing we hear with no doubt is I need one single source for my data so I can manage my business and get my reports. So let's just say this webinar is 19 years overdue. Okay, so seriously, I mean, and I've got some numbers I want to share with you in a minute on all this. Obviously, I already said this, but a lot of people spend tremendous amount of time on their data and then only to do it again the next month or the next week, whatever. It's a constant struggle. And I've got some quotes that I'm going to share with you on this in a second. And here is some data points that I'm going to share. And also I've got real world use cases sort of around these data points. And I will tell you, I mean, you can read through this, but 13% of working out, this is an industry statistic. What we see from our customers is that's a low number, that they're spending probably 1 day a week, 20% of their time on their data. Or you can extrapolate that out over a year or a month, whatever you want to do. But we meet with our customers, we talk to them, they tell us how much time they spend on this stuff. I think 13% is low. That's a number we got from a McKinsey study, but that's what we're going to do here because it's we got some references and all that. And then it's proven that when folks really get their data together and start using it, they really do a better job of bidding, in summary, and they get a little bump in their revenue. And also what we call margin erosion is reduced when they're looking at job cost performance, real time, and before they bid new jobs, they're really able to bid jobs that are profitable versus bidding jobs just to get the work and then hope you make money. I'm not saying any of y'all do that, but we do hear that at times. Okay, real quick, I'm going to jump into a quote. This is one of the general contractors we met. This one was at Procore, and I mean, you can read it, but my team spends days, a month scrubbing data from multiple places to prepare our reports. The process is not automated. I need that single source of truth. Okay, I'm sure you've heard that before, but the point that I'm going to make here really, really quickly is down here in the orange. This is a $1 billion general contractor with all the resources in the world, and I'll highlight the last part of this quote. He just does not know where to start. That's what we're here for. Okay. And then here's another one. I think we met this particular individual at Tug. No, this is a Spectrum customer, so that wouldn't have been Tug. Maybe this one was Procore. I can't remember. But this is a specialty contractor. Cool quote where he said, look, I spend a tremendous amount of time on my data, working on my data. I need my data to start working for me. I thought that was a really cool quote. Okay. So I think everybody knows who this is for. I mean, if based on those quotes, if you're spending a tremendous amount of time, or frankly, any time on your data, and you're doing it over and over and over again, that's a struggle. And big or small, this is something that can help almost any commercial contractor out there, general contractor, specialty contractor. And then the return on investment that you make in this is exponential, because now you're going to have all this data to run your business, make strategic decisions, but also you could just look at the time you spend messing with the data, cleaning the data, merging the data, consolidating the data, and you'll save a tremendous amount of time just with that alone with these best practices. Okay, so we're doing great on time, so I'm gonna slow my talking down a little bit because we're really getting into the meat of this thing now. Okay, how does all this work? Like I said at the beginning, and somebody called me out at the CFMA meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, and said, this is really a process. I'm like, yeah, it is a process, but it's also tools and utilities to support the process, and quite frankly, experience behind all of this. But the steps that you go through to get to that single source of truth is listed here in summary. And the follow-up slides are going to show you some of the detail. I may sound a little repetitive, and I apologize for that, but these points are extremely important, and just trying to drive that home with you guys. So, all right. So the way the process starts, and typically when we take on a client to do this, they're gonna say, okay, I've got data everywhere, and like I said, it could be in job cost accounting or accounting system. It could even be in QuickBooks, which I wouldn't say job cost accounting, but some ERP, Procore or Autodesk for project management, maybe Team with Dimensions, not Dimensions, Trimble. And then they have lots of bid invitations coming in from multiple places. They may be managing their bids in a CRM like Top Builder or some other CRM. We see a lot of Microsoft Dynamics, and we see a lot of Salesforce. And then they may be managing customer data or reports in something like Power BI. Okay. But all those are separate and disconnected sources. Okay. It's a mess. And so they come to us, and what we do is we take an export, or, the data, we get the data in spreadsheets, and then there's a process to load that. We call that the initial load. And that initial load goes through sort of an initial merging process where we say, oh, this is the same company, this is the same job, or a job description, or an estimate ID. This is the same contact. There's, usually email address is really good for that. Company phone number is not good, because that could be the front office. There's lots of ways, to figure out how to identify these folks. And then we do this initial data load and data merge. And that's a really good first cut at merging all the data together. And when we're saying merging, I said this at the beginning, and deduplicating, we're talking field by field. So if I got a contact record with a mobile number in one system, and a contact record without a mobile number in one system, but a work number, it comes together with one contact record with a mobile number and a work number and a work email, and so on and so forth, in one single record. And then reports get kicked out to say, okay, this is what we found, bad email addresses or whatever. Okay. So that goes through sort of an initial data merging and deduplication process. And then you can look at those reports. And then what happens, let me show you in Top Builder real quickly. Maybe I'll have a little time to show you some of these examples. And you find something like a duplicate in your data, you could simply go in and say, I want to dedupe this account, or I want to dedupe this job. You don't have to find it that way. You can pull it off a report. Okay. But it's a continuous process to go through and clean this data so that you don't have any duplicates. Okay. Perfect. All right. Now back to the presentation. This cross-data reconciliation is really the meat of this process, because you could go through merging and deduping your data, okay, and then tomorrow it's going to be out of date potentially, or already duplicated, because somebody comes in from your website, or somebody uploads some data, or we connect to accounting, whatever. Your data is going to get out of sync real quick, and then you got to mess it all over again. So what you do in this scenario, and I'll show you an example after I describe it, is you go through this process of going ahead and connecting. I've got some screenshots here. You connect it to your let's say your accounting system at first. And so you start with your accounting system and you say, and this example's Intact, okay? But I say, okay, I'm going to connect to Intact, but I'm not going to turn Intact on. Not yet. I'm going to connect to Intact, and then Intact is going to match up what's in this merged data set and what's in Intact. And let me get this out of the way for you. It's going to find that customer ID in Intact, okay? And then you say, okay, these are the same companies in Intact. That's great. And you select all of the ones that are a match, and you hit the button Apply Match, and then all of a sudden you've reconciled your data inside Top Builder or Contractor BI, the single source of truth for you. And now you can recognize these companies when you turn on the Intact integration. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so you've connected Top Builder to Intact in this scenario. You've reconciled all your companies, and it could be vendors, customers, end users, whatever company it is. And then you update Top Builder with the Intact client ID. And then now you can turn on the Intact integration and not generate duplicates for any of these companies. And then you go through the same process over here. If you can see this screenshot, sorry to just do screenshots here, but I'll show you some real screens in a minute. You do the same thing for the jobs as well. Okay? And then at the end of the day, all your jobs are reconciled with Intact. All right, but we're not done, okay? Because we've only done Intact. We turn around, we do the same thing to Procore, hypothetically, or Autodesk. Okay, done. Go around, do the same thing with Stack or B2W or AccuBid or whatever it may be. Okay, reconcile all that data. Done. Connect to Building Connected. Same thing. Done. Now, all of the data that you have in this single source of truth is reconciled, or maybe we could say, let's just say, I'm going to add this term right now, real time, cross-referenced. Maybe that makes it clearer, with all these data silos. Okay? Awesome. Yay. Now we can turn on these interfaces, and I'll leave this alone for now. Now we can turn on the interfaces and, sorry, going back here, go to this slide. Now we're going to refresh your database and synchronize your database with Intact, Procore, Autodesk, whatever it may be. And so your data is always going to be up to date. Okay. Now, this is the data that lives in both places. Now, what will happen though is you may put a new customer in Intact, or you may put another customer directly in Procore, because you're building out jobs in Procore, and you may add a vendor to a job in Procore. You may add a customer or a general contractor to Procore or Intact or whatever. And it doesn't live in Top Builder yet. Okay, fine. We bring it down into Top Builder and we create that customer, and then we're in sync again. And then we do the flip side. When you get a new customer in Top Builder, you say the job's awarded, or you say, I want to send it to Procore for estimating purposes or workforce planning purposes. You change the status in Top Builder, we send it over to Procore, and we create that company, we create that job, we create the contacts in Procore. Now we're in sync. Okay. There is a possibility for something to slip through the cracks and you get a duplicate, but then you just use those merge utilities to merge them together. It's really, really fantastic. Okay. So That's the all the hard part. I'll be honest. Once the data is in that single source of truth, okay, it's going to be updated, but we're also going to be monitoring it. Or let's just say best practices. I don't want this necessarily to be about Top Builder. This is about anybody. Best practices is you've got to monitor the data. Is it synchronizing, or do we have a failure in the integration for some reason? Are we getting more duplicates? You know, it's very, very important to make sure it doesn't get unwound, all this hard work you've done. So it needs to be monitored. How many customers did we create in Top Builder from Procore? You know, how many contacts did we sync? How many jobs did we sync? You want to know these things because you know your business and you have a general idea. How many jobs do I have? How many customers do I have? You know this stuff, and then you can get an idea. Okay, we're in sync, and if you get out of sync, we got merge utilities to fix all that. Okay, so that's monitoring the data and also the health of the data. Bad email addresses, bad phone numbers, things like that. Bounces, all those things. Okay. I think this is pretty obvious, so I won't spend a tremendous amount of time on this one. But the next step is to give you got to have access to that data, because what good is it if you don't have access to that data? So there's plenty of web-based applications. You connect to that data. Obviously Top Builder, our CRM, is one of the ways that you can connect to that data. You have all your leads or all your jobs in one place. You can manage your leads, manage your customers, manage your accounts, even things like documents, managing bids, managing quotes. All of those things can be accessed through the web app. All right. Into that, a lot of people are in the field, and this isn't rocket science. I mean, you guys all know this, but if your data is in one place and you can't get to it, what's the point, right? So a native app that gets to that data, Apple or Android. One of the things people love to do is export their data, maybe tinker with it, export it. You can update it and then re-import it and update it and refresh it, and then give access to the data through an integration or an API. Okay, all right. Now, there's another kind of hidden value proposition behind all of this. Okay, so if you're thinking about switching accounting systems, or you're thinking about switching project management systems, you're thinking about switching anything, a CRM, whatever that may be, it's really difficult to do that if your data is not in good shape, because you're migrating a mess into a new system, and that's a problem. I did this for a living before Top Builder. I was the CRM manager for Hewlett Packard. I flew around the world doing this for people. It's very difficult when your data is not in good shape, obviously. But once your data is in good shape, these best practices will allow you to, let's say you're on Sage 100. I'm making this up, but you're on Sage 100 and you want to migrate to Intact. What you can do is you've got your data in good shape. It's all consolidated, merged, deduped, cleansed, reconciled, blah, blah, blah. Now you connect it to Intact and you push the button and you send all your customers, you send all your jobs directly to Intact through the Intact interface, or you exported it directly out of Top Builder, and we give you plenty of export utilities to do this, okay? And then you can import it directly into Intact or wherever you want to go cleanly. That's worth a lot, just that alone. Also, I mean, Contractor BI is, I think, the best analytics program in the construction industry. And I am a little bit biased on that, but I know what the competition is doing, and I think we are the best data and analytics program out there, application out there. But if you are using something like a Power BI, your data has to be in good place, and you can import it into Power BI for use there as well, or integrate it. Okay, I'll move on because we're actually starting to run out of time. Critical success factors. Like I said, these are the two most important slides in the whole presentation. I've done this for 40 years, and I've seen projects fail over and over and over and over and over again. They weren't my projects, but I've seen it. All right. Get a team that's done this before. And frankly, there's a lot of really good Sage resellers out there, Trimble resellers out there, but they need to have experience with Intact or 300 or 100, whatever it is you're using. Make sure they have deep experience with those platforms, and then make sure the utilities that you're using, like the ones we have here under the data services, account reconciliation, lead reconciliation, deduping utilities, make sure they are mature as well. We didn't build our reconciliation programs and our utilities overnight. We built them in 19 years. They weren't what they are today. It took a long time to get them the way they are. And I'll say they're awesome. I use them on my own data, and we use Top Builder ourselves, so we know that they're good. Same with the upload utilities, same thing. Same with the merge and dedupe utilities. And make sure, this is really, really important. Some companies will integrate with Procore, send the jobs over to Procore as an example, but they don't want Procore to come down and update certain information in their CRM or their bid management tool. They want to maintain, because their estimators are going to maintain that data in their estimating tool or in Top Builder as an example. You've got to make sure that you have the ability to turn on and off updates and not be all or none going one way and all or none going the other way, or you're going to have data that you may enter in two different places, and then it starts to step on each other, if that makes sense. So be very careful about that. Okay. Backup and recovery. I think a lot of you guys have been through these kind of things where you've been through a cyber attack or a database crash or something like that. I've never spent more sleepless nights than worrying about these kind of things in my previous jobs. Make sure you've got good backup and recovery procedures that are tested. Same with checking for malware and cyber attacks. It happens all the time. You probably don't know it's happening, but it's probably happening right now on Top Builder. But we've got things to head those off and make sure they don't get through the firewall, make sure there's no data loss, so on and so forth. Watch your contracts, okay? If you're getting into a contract with a company to do this for yourself, make sure you own the data. I know that sounds obvious, but I've seen, we have customers where they left one accounting system and migrated to another accounting system, and they were holding their data hostage. And I think that's awful. Make sure in your contract you own the data and you take it with you at all times. Okay. And also, this is kind of weird, but make sure you'll want to make sure that you're continuing to maintain accounting data in the accounting system, project management data and project management system, estimates in your estimating platform. You're not going to change all that. You keep doing things the way you do. You're just pulling it together into one place. Okay, I've got about 4 minutes. Next steps, and then I'm going to jump into some use cases. I can't figure out where I want this thing. If you want to hit that QR code and you'll get this presentation tomorrow, this will book a meeting with us and we can kind of get into the weeds on this if you'd like. Doug, I think Doug's on here, will be able to meet with you, coach you through this. I'll be available. I'd love to talk to you about what you got going on and see if we can help. And then you could always email us or fill out a demo request form. But right now, with the time that we have remaining, Rob, is there any critical questions that we might want to answer right away?
I don't see any, Dave.
Okay. Let me see real quickly. I'm going to stop at 1:40 Eastern time in 5 minutes, but I don't see any. I don't. Oh, chat. Oh, yeah, we have one. Will the slides be distributed after the presentation? Yes. It says I don't see anything under the materials icon. No, we don't have the materials ready yet. Mike, we will send you the presentation. I tell you what, I've got your email address right here as well. I'm going to make sure you get this. So thank you for that. I'll actually send it right after this for you. All right. Okay. I'm going to dive into some use cases here. No, I thought I had another chat coming in. I've got 4 use cases. On next steps. You know what, Mike? I'm not gonna put you on the spot here. I'm gonna follow up with you later. Okay, got a couple of use cases with real world scenarios I want to share with you. And I've got a little bit of demo of Contractor BI while I'm doing this. Okay, I'll make it quick. Okay, use case number 1. These are all real. These are all Top Builder customers, Contractor BI customers. Came to us. Sage. They happen to be on Procore and Sage 300, and they're using Top Builder as their CRM. They're a very large general contractor, and the problem that they are having, well, besides the fact that their data is not in one place, is they're not able to run job cost performance reports during the job while it's under construction, and then when they're preparing new bids. Okay, obviously step number 1 is to bring all their data together, synchronize the job cost history with Sage 300, and then we produce a job cost performance dashboard for them and everybody else. And what it does is it shows all of your jobs. I can expand this full screen for you. Okay. It's showing all of your jobs, whether they're completed or in progress, and it's showing you what your cost variances are. Of course, it's showing you the total cost variance. I'm going to pick on the first one here. And this is fake data, so bear with me. Total job cost variance, they went over by $83,000. But then if you scroll to the right, of course, what you're going to want to see is where are those losses? Labor, materials, equipment, subcontract, other. Now, they do have some negatives on labor, materials, and equipment and subcontract, but they gain some back on their other, I guess. I'm not really 100% sure where that resides. So what they do is they can go into what we call the individual job cost performance report, select a job, and this is a couple sample jobs that we have here, and then they can look at all the cost codes and cost categories and top cost types. Now, some people may call these phase codes. I apologize. Phase codes, cost code, same thing in this vernacular. But now they're looking at an individual job and they can see where they're running over by cost code and cost category: labor, materials, equipment, subcontract, other. And then we got a summary up there. Pretty cool. This particular one also allows you to provide sort of an indirect cost override, so to speak. So you can add burden or indirect cost to only labor, of course, because you don't have burden or indirect costs necessarily on the materials or the equipment. Okay, that solved their problem. All right, now next, oh, that's the example. Sorry. Scenario number 2. Okay, Spectrum and Top Builder CRM. What happened in this case, I love this customer, 13 years. They've been, no, probably about 9 years they've been with us. They were spending about 6 weeks every quarter. Do I say that in here? I don't, but that's what's happening. 6 weeks every quarter to prepare their, oh yeah, right here, to prepare their reports. And then the problem was, once they prepared the reports for the stakeholders or management team every quarter, the data is already out of date. It drove her nuts. Okay. She is the CFO of a specialty contractor using Spectrum and Top Builder. We integrated with Spectrum, brought all that data together into one place, and she has a forecast. That's this chart right here that looks at, these are fake numbers, by the way, but looks at each division. What is her expected revenue against target revenue? And then down here, this is a revenue forecast. And I'm going to talk to you really specifically about something on this forecast. Okay. This forecast is called the revenue detail forecast. What is special about this revenue detail forecast that you cannot get unless you have this single source of truth is a forecast using both active jobs, jobs that are in accounting, and jobs that you're bidding on, all in one place. And these are weighted. This is weighted numbers. Probability, conversion rate related forecast. And now she can put this all on one forecast. Bidding data, job cost accounting data, and also the job cost accounting data is obviously updated on a regular basis with changes, change orders, whatever. And by the way, the dates change. Start dates and end dates move on jobs. They move all the time for weather. Your forecast has to reflect that, obviously, or it's no good. This is beautiful. She gets this with a touch of a button, maybe 2 touches. Okay. Use case number 3. I'm going to go through this one really quickly. This is an end-to-end process of collecting bids from Building Connected, 50 or more bids a day, basically hand typing them into Excel from emails. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but it's end-to-end from bid invitations all the way to producing reports. They were using Excel, Access, and Power BI to do these reports. Okay, all of this was automated with integrations and, of course, pulling their data together in the first place, but integrations to Spectrum, Procore, Building Connected, Stack, and then they have CRM, Top Builder CRM, and then using Contractor to BI. And I've got a side-by-side comparison of the reports that they had. This one on the left is in Access. This one on the right is in Contractor BI. It's got the white background, but that's what it looks like in Contractor BI. You can change the backgrounds. Now they had an executive dashboard. That's the 1, 2, 3 numbers there that they had. This was in Excel. Obviously, it looks very Excel-like. And this is what we replaced in Contractor BI. They get this with the click of a button right now without having to go to Excel files. Okay, so we converted that over. And then these were in Power BI. You can see here on the left, this was Power BI. Oh, goodness gracious. Need to make sure I cover up the data. And then on the right, okay, this is what we replaced with Contractor BI. It almost looks identical, but they get this without any extra cost of integrating data or building reports in Power BI. It comes with Contractor BI out of the box for them. Okay, I got another one, but I think we're out of time. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank everybody for attending. Let me check the chat really quickly. No more questions. So thank you all so much. You'll get the presentation and the video tomorrow. And let us know if you need any help.